Hey, this is Matt Urtz, the Madison County Historian. We are still working to document how the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted different businesses and organizations. We are really lucky to have Brittany Klazco, the general manager, and Quinn Hurley, the assistant general manager of the Hampton Inn in Cazenovia. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I mean, we kind of have an idea what a hotel is, but you guys do more. You actually host events and stuff like that. You want to talk a little bit about what you guys do?
Yeah, we have a event center. So unlike a lot of Hampton Inns, where we're truly unique here, under the Cazenovia hospitality, we were able to permission to have an event center here. Absolute max occupancy, 350. That's auditorium style, of course. But we do everything from white glove events to Boy Scout box lunches. We really are full service food and beverage, which you will not find. I've yet to find another Hampton that I know there are some Hamptons that might rent out, or have a restaurant attached or next door or something like that that does catering. But we truly are doing everything organically, local, privately owned, right here in Cazenovia. Small private business, and prior to COVID, we were really excelling in that and really growing that organically. Brittany's done a tremendous job, leading us. We're fortunate to have her, so yeah, we're doing a lot, and even offsite catering, wineries, those kind of things. So in the process of building that back up again and establishing new.
Okay. So talk a little bit about when COVID appeared on your radar and kind of when you guys started to have to adapt.
So realistically, it didn't start totally affecting us until the beginning of March. We started seeing some schools cancel games. We are heavy in the sports business, so we host a lot of teams here. So slowly they started to drop off. They would cancel. We didn't think too much about it, and then probably March 22nd is when we laid off pretty much our entire staff. We kept 5 major employees here, basically the management team, and everything else just kind of shut down. So really, I would say that March 22nd was the end of it. We didn't really, it wasn't much time to adapt from when we started seeing slowly people started canceling, started decreasing a little, and then all of a sudden it was just over.
Okay. Yeah, so March 12th was, I remember that clearly is when we heard news, and then we had a team actually here in-house playing Colgate, a basketball team. And then, and they had just made it in, and then they were gone. And we'd game plan every week for a different scenario. Then new regulations would come out that would, cripple us, and we'd have to come up with a new game plan. I mean, not just us, everybody within the industry. And so it was. Yeah, true. It was something, all right. It was everything we planned on doing. Was next the next day, and then
give an idea, what is your normal lodging percentage? What is your goal? And then how did that change when this first kind of kicked off?
Well, 2019, we have like a 62%, I think, occupancy average, so which is great. Rule of thumb, you want to be 50% or over, and that's a successful hotel annually in terms of your average. So we were above that and only growing. So yeah, our average occupancy, it all depends. Like in the summertime, we can be 100% occupancy almost every single day. Like for example, August, we do great business, wedding blocks, beautiful area, Cazenovia, outdoor venues. Very quaint. That's only trending upwards in terms of doing outdoor weddings, which we're perfect for in this area. And and then we go in the wintertime, we'll have slower months where maybe we're at 30% occupancy, or 20% some days. COVID-19 happened, and we had Leslie, we have a permanent resident here. Her name is Leslie. She's awesome. But she'd be our only guest some days, which was just, just to say it was bizarre is an understatement.
Yeah.
Like that.
So talk about when this comes in and you guys got to start kind of adapting all your prepared events, all your scheduled events. Did you try to shift them to later dates? Were they just outright canceled?
Yeah, so a lot of our events did shift. We were fortunate that our weddings that were scheduled in 2009 or 2020 rescheduled to 2021. So we were fortunate on that. We did lose a lot of just lost events. A lot of the sports teams that had meals, pregame meals, obviously we're not getting those back. Hopefully we'll get the teams back, but the event itself is lost. We lost a couple birthday parties. They're not rescheduling, or they did try to reschedule. So a lot of our April events tried to push it out till, June. And then once June came, it was like, what's the point of keep pushing it at this point? They just canceled. So we did lose, I would say probably at least 40% of our events, and the rest did reschedule, but 40% is still a lot of events lost.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about the processes. Did you guys get your orders from the state? Did the parent company kind of shift those? How do you guys kind of figure out what you're going to do and how to adapt?
So originally, when we first heard the news that only essential businesses were going to be open, hotels were not included in that essential business list. So that day that they announced it, which I think was that Friday, they announced all essential businesses are to remain open. Everything else must shut down. We were preparing to shut down. We thought that we weren't going to be able to be allowed to be open. We were trying to figure out a way. Can we figure out a loophole? What can we do to stay open? And then luckily we were deemed essential. So we were able to stay open. Hilton is such a large corporation that they were really unable to give strict guidance of whether or not to stay open, what your rules are. They do provide guidance, and they did now make it mandatory for, masks to be worn in all of Hilton properties. We have signage, we have hand sanitizer, all of that kind of stuff was required by Hilton, but our main source of knowledge and all of the kind of guidelines that we follow comes straight from the state.
Okay. So how did you guys get those? Were you like a lot of people just watching the meetings with Governor Cuomo, or
Yep.
did you actually get stuff sent to you?
Nope, it was the meetings. It was
Ryan, what's his name? Ryan the county executive.
Yep.
We would watch him every day religiously, and then with Cuomo as well, his daily things, the presidents as well. I mean, we just were just tuned in, and because things would just change, just so quickly, that and you'd have to just scramble to adapt, especially when it came to the SBA loans, things like that. That was a whole nother chapter in this saga. It was essentially from the state. I mean, the only thing I could think of, what we did something a little bit different though was, for example, like we weren't when we were allowed to open that, we were we had our guidelines from the local health department, which was like no more than 10. But we decided, since we have kind of a smaller pool, that we only do like one family at a time. So we didn't think anybody else, from that people should intermingle at all. And that was just kind of, we took it a step further, I guess, for safety purposes. So that, there was a little bit of, playing it by ear, I think, but for the most part, following the guidelines as best we could interpret them.
Did you guys see a significant So when you go through and clean a room, it might normally take 5 minutes. Did that take longer
Oh,
because
yeah.
of this? And obviously you had to find more supplies. Did that become an issue?
Yeah, so a little bit about the room process. So the sanitizer that we have with the guidelines that are given have to sit on surfaces for X amount of time to be effective for certain viruses, especially the coronavirus, with it being, so unknown. They're like, maximum time you have to spray it, it's got to sit on there for at least 5 to 10 minutes. So right there, you're increasing your time because you have to continuously spray so that it's saturated for 10 minutes. Then you have to do all the high touch points a little bit more frequently. Our rooms are always, our standards for Hilton are pretty high anyways. So cleaning purposes of it really didn't affect it too much, but the saturation for 10 minutes at least, that just kind of added to it. So what a room would normally take 20 minutes is now taking close to 35 minutes per room. And then actually getting your hands on the stuff. We had trouble getting hand sanitizer for a long time. Hilton does Hilton Clean Stay, which is partnered with Lysol. They announced it, they made it mandatory, and then no one could find Lysol. So that was extremely difficult and frustrating. A lot of other Hamptons that I'm friends with, the general managers, were like, we don't know what to do. There's no Lysol. So that was frustrating. But it seems to have gotten better. We can get our hands on product now. So we're not short, but it was definitely a little hairy for a while, trying to follow the standards.
You talked about you only had 5 people working. Talk a little bit about how did you guys divvy that all out? Because I'm assuming that means people were spending the night.
Yes. Well, we got to keep our night auditor on, and then Quinn took the other 2 shifts for night audit. And then the other managers, whoever wasn't on desk, was cleaning rooms, working breakfast, which we had to cut out our full hot breakfast. Everything went to a brown bag item with, piece of whole fruit, like a banana, something you can peel off that you're not actually eating the skin, and a wrapped muffin. So it wasn't difficult because we did have to cut back so much, but it was, you saw the same 5 of us, so if you came any time of the week. So.
It was just managers, and we would basically, there'd be some times where there would be nobody here, and we were just here to make sure, essentially no one robbed the place. It was really stark, never in my career have I ever experienced anything like that. It was just, but yes, we were all cleaning rooms. We all pitched in. Essentially, we took the attitude, and Brittany kind of challenged us to take the attitude, as well as ownership, that there are no managers for this period of time. We're all doing everything to make sure that this property is looking good and maintained, etc. That's what we did for.
So have you brought most of your staff back now?
Yep. So most of our staff is back. For the most part, we do still have a few that we just can't bring back quite yet. Just not at that level yet. But pretty much the entire front desk staff is back. So that helps out a lot. Gives us some free hands to go help housekeeping, which housekeeping's not all back yet. And other areas of the hotel. But we were fortunate that we did pick back up. And we're getting some pretty good occupancy out of the last couple months where we were able to bring back.
How do you think this will change how you guys do business moving forward?
I think it's one thing, it kind of rewinding to a question that you had in terms of does this take more time to clean rooms, etc. In a sense, yes, it did, but it's more of the perception. Moving forward, more of the perception of the guests, and taking that into consideration. And so we always preach to our housekeeping staff. You clean remotes, you clean high, contact surfaces. We did all these things, Yeah, we're tweaking it a little bit here or there, but most of it is for the perception of the guest. The guest knows that. Guests, going to a hotel room before this, and they didn't realize that we would religiously wipe down the phone, or religiously wipe down a remote control, or we do all these extra little things, to disinfect the room. Anyway, now that's highlighted, COVID. So a lot of it, I think, is highlighting those behind the scenes things, are certainly more pronounced now and exposed to the guest. As before, I think it was for granted.
Anything else you guys would like to say?
I thank you, and I do want to take time to thank ownership. And deciding to stay open wasn't easy. These are small business people, local Cazenovia people, real stand-up people in the community. Volunteer firemen, just your regular people who never even known that they were owners. And that was really tough for them to make that decision. I feel as though they made the right one. They're starting to rebound strongly. Again, under Brittany's leadership. But I want to commend them for having the faith in us to establish that recovery, which we're doing now. So I just want to time to thank ownership. Really commend them as well.
Brittany?
No, I think that about covers it. It was just such a challenging time, and in reaching out to people that you normally wouldn't have a relationship with, I think kind of brought the community closer. Like, hey, did you see that press release? What do you think about that? Like, what are you doing to change it? So I think, a blessing in disguise that came out of it was us being stronger as a community, trying to adapt, and we're all cheering everyone else on and trying to support everyone. Because this was not easy. This was a very difficult time, and really want to see everyone come out of it stronger and better. And I see so many places closing. I just don't want to see that for our town. So
yeah, no, it's a hard thing.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you both for taking the time to talk to us. We really do appreciate it. And we've told everybody, we hope that we've turned the corner and that we don't have to talk again, but maybe down the road, if it continues, we'll reach out to you again to see how you're doing. And who knows, maybe afterwards we'll do a where are they now with post-COVID. But,
that would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But thank you again for taking the time. Please be safe and best of luck. Hopefully get lots of lodging right on through from here on out.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well.
Have a good one.
You too.
Yeah.